Hey, VentureWrench community, how are you? Hey, I am recording. This is the first recording from the 50 ways to mess up your startup. I'm doing them in chunks, recording just some commentary for you, a little bit of color about where these came from. So once again, real life examples, real things that happen to real entrepreneurs, me or other entrepreneurs that I know that I've worked with. And we're just going to cover the first 7 today. We're going to distribute them in chunks. So first thing I want you to be aware of is a way to mess up your startup is to start with an idea that is too small, either too easy, so there's no protection from competitors, because no investor wants to invest in that, even if it's an angel investor. They want to know that there's some protection. It's got to be hard, and you've got to have some capabilities or some competitive advantages that you bring to the table other people can't just copy. So either too easy or too small. And when we started DoBox, our first company, it was about parental control, and broadband was small then, and a lot of investors thought it was too small a market. I disagree. Even today, I think it could have been a very large market had it had the proper backing. But in general, their view was it's not $1 billion market. And in the course, as you know, Designing the Perfect Investor, one of the things we talk about is we explain the structural reasons in the venture community that they want to see markets that big. And so angel investors, who often form the first round of funding, they want to see them that big too, because they know you're not going to get venture funding if it's not that big. So starting with an idea too small, way to mess up your startup. And the first idea you have is your baby, but as you go on, you learn that you put the same amount of effort into a great idea as to a not so great idea. So be willing to let those not so great ideas go. It's important. The second thing on the list today is forgetting to design the perfect investor. And I coined that phrase because I came to learn after a lot of hard work, mistakes on my part, the things that I did, I thought I could just kind of make it up as I went. None of this is true. I was wrong on all those fronts. But what I came to understand is the venture community is small. It's easy to poison the well. And so you've really got to only be talking to the perfect investor. They're out there. I met a VC firm, a very small firm, and I said, well, what do you guys do? I was at the state of Utah at the time running the grant funding program. And he looked a little chagrined, and he said, well, we make instruments that cardiothoracic surgeons use in surgery. Period. That's all we fund. Now, that's a pretty small niche, and he knew that. But if you made instruments and devices for cardiothoracic surgeons to use in surgery, guess what? They wanted to talk to you, right? So when I say there are funds and niches and themes for so many ideas, there is somebody out there for you. But if you talk to people who want something else, right? They only fund rocket fuel, or they only fund software as a service, and you're not that, you've wasted your time, you've wasted your effort, you've wasted your credibility, and you may poison the well. Then I want to turn my attention to founders. So when I co-founded DoBox, we originally had 5 founders. Eventually 2 dropped out because they just couldn't contribute. We were just in the very early stages, and we remained friends, but we hadn't done any equity. We were just kind of conceptualizing at the time. And we ended up with 3 founders, and I had VCs tell me, we hate these so many founders. And so investors kind of go back and forth. If you're a lone founder, then you don't have a team and you don't have credibility. You can't do everything. How are you going to find the right people? How are you going to motivate them and share your vision, right? That becomes a real challenge. But if you have only 2 founders and you have a 50-50 split, right? Divorce happens, and it happens in startups too. So you've got to have a mechanism built in that you've both agreed to and everybody's happy to mitigate or negotiate decisions and have those be binding on everybody. And you can't have a situation where you might have a lost founder. So let's just pretend you were smart and you did a 60-40 split. But 2 months into the fundraising or 6 months into the fundraising, and you didn't have money raised yet, and that founder walks away with 40% of the company, and you go to investors and say, hey, invest in our business, but 40% of it's sitting with someone who's doing no work on this business and never will. And everything that we do, they're going to get 40% of it. Okay, that is a deal killer. Right there. You've got to have a way of getting that back if they're not participating in growing the business. Now, investors say, oh, founder vesting. Okay, I loathe founder vesting. Wait, I raise money from you, you love my idea, you fire me because you're having a bad hair day, and I have to give up my equity? I don't think so, right? So as a founder, and investors who do coaching will not tell you that, but I do as an entrepreneur. But at the same time, you as a founder have to be able to say to co-founders, look, if you leave, we have to replace you, which means all your equity or 95% of it. And so I call that a buy-sell agreement. There's a blog post at startupnotes.venturewrench.com. Just go to venturewrench.com, click on startup notes, and there's a blog post on having a buy-sell agreement that talks about this. So important. So don't mess up your startup around the founders. Don't mess it up around having agreements. Don't get lost, founders. A little point if you are doing a university spin-out. Okay, I meet so many professors. They're so smart. They're so capable. They're the inventor, and they think that they should be the CEO. This is not true. You can be one or the other. You can't be both. And this just tanks so many university spinouts with lots of potential. The other problem is if you are the inventor, you have to give the entrepreneur who's going to be the CEO a significant amount of equity. Why? You're competing with their ideas where they own 100%. So if you're going to attract the best entrepreneurs to take your business somewhere big, you have to be willing to share. And I worked with so many professors that is a non-starter. And so don't waste your time, right? Don't try and do a spin out if you're not willing to do that. And fail to protect your IP from day one. And this is so hard. You're so busy, so much things happening, but you need all kinds of agreements. You need work for hire agreements. If you have a contractor or a consultant, you need to make sure everything's protected. People are confidential. Understanding that VCs don't sign NDAs, which we'll talk about later. But definitely be thinking about protecting IP from day one. Okay, so that's your first group. More to come. 50 of them. Yeah, I thought I was going to get to 25, but 50 came pretty easy. So you're going to get 50 over the next little while. Ciao.